Hello everyone. I just want to talk with you briefly about my research regarding America's Christian heritage. My research topic deals with examining the role of religion, more specifically Christianity, as the moral guideline for the American Revolution and the establishing principles of the new American nation. Now, the American Revolution was certainly one of the most defining moments in American history, as the early colonies declared their independence from Great Britain and established the new United States of America. In reflecting on these events, we've often turned to things like taxation and other implementations from Great Britain as to why the uprising occurred. But what has often been overlooked is the role of religion that Christian principles played in uniting the people for the cause of the revolution. Now, during the 18th century, we had the first great American revival. That was the Great Awakening. And so during this time period, religion was an extremely influential part of American culture. According to the Library of Congress, churches were being built at a headlong pace. More than 3/4 of American society was in church during this time. And so we see the critical role that religion played in the culture of the early American colonies. Likewise, because of this, the church ministers began to have a very big pulpit, if you will. In other words, their voices were very influential in colonial America. And so in examining some of the sermons from this time period, we begin to see the idea of revolution, the Christian principles of liberty, freedom, resistance to oppression, resistance to tyranny, and these rights as people. We begin to see these principles creep into the sermons of that time. And so these sermons have often been referred to as political sermons because the ideas of the American Revolution are spread throughout these sermons. And so in this way, pastors began to provide this idea that the American Revolution was morally justified in the sight of God. It was their duty to resist oppression and to establish freedom. That's what God wanted for his people, was freedom. And so they began to unite the American people behind this cause of revolution. Now, in establishing the new nation, we began to see more Christian values, Christian ethics, Christian morals as the guidelines, as the establishing, the foundation of what the new nation is going to be built upon. We see it in different documents, such as the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence, where we see the concept that, all men are created equal, that they are gifted by their Creator with the basic undisputable rights of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. So we see this reflection upon the Creator, Almighty God, and these rights that they have. And so scholars, in reflecting on these things, have referred to it often as natural law ethics or natural law morals. In other words, these Christian principles that were just weaved into society, that were expected, that didn't have to be written, if you will, or said, that they were just understood. And so we see these ideas, these Christian ideas and principles begin to be a part of the establishing part of the nation. Reflecting on this and reflecting on John Adams, this quote, Christianity was the unwritten constitution of the United States because its moral teaching gave America its ethical base. And so there again, we see this idea that Christianity is the moral backbone, the ethical backbone of what this new United States of America is going to be built upon. These freedoms, these liberties. And so these principles are the guideline for establishing the nation. And so ultimately, the goal of my research has been to examine the role that the Christian faith played in unifying the people for the cause of the American Revolution, as providing the moral compass, if you will, for the American Revolution and the guiding principles of establishing this new United States of America and setting forth the new government, the policies that were going to be in place, the standards for society. And so we begin to see the role that Christianity played socially, politically, all throughout the culture of the new United States of America. And in doing this, my conclusion, my argument has been that in examining the social aspect, the political aspect, the religious aspect that of the American founding era, that Christianity certainly played a critical role as being a moral compass, a moral guideline for the American Revolution and establishing the new principles and aspects of the new United States of America. I look forward to completing this research and sharing these things with you. Thank you for joining me.